All right. So the answer is no. You absolutely shouldn't buy acrylic mirrors rather than standard glass mirrors. Let me explain why. So if you get I believe it's plastic acrylic is the term for it. If you were to search it online, um, that's what it would be called. So it is significantly lighter. So initially, when I thought about that, I thought, okay, it'll put less strain on the drywall in my garage, okay? And I thought, okay, so that's a pro. It's also very malleable. So obviously, if you have a standard, a large piece of glass mirror, if any more or less any bend to it is going to cause its structural integrity is going to be compromised, right? It's going to break. With a plastic acrylic mirror, let's say I had it laying on the floor in front of me, okay? I could literally go to one end of it, grab it, and stand completely up and still have that end in my hand while the other half or perhaps 2/3 of it remain flat on the ground. So that's how, gives you an idea of how malleable it is. So those two things were sort of selling points for me. Those I found to be appealing. I thought, okay. It also appeared to be, after I sort of looked into the price and the cost, it appeared to be pretty comparable to standard glass, or perhaps just under the average cost of a standard glass mirror. So that was also appealing to me. I ended up getting 3 mirrors, okay, of the plastic acrylic. At this point, I had yet to get any standard glass mirrors, and so I called the the company who sold them. Figured out I could buy them in 4x8, 4 foot wide by 8 foot tall. These mirrors, so I got 3 of them, and my plan was to situate them. So there was 3, and they were all side by side. I have a 3-car garage, so this would have been on the side, facing my 2-car garage door, so the largest sort of area of vacant space in my garage, okay? So that was my plan. So I get the 3 mirrors home, and I realize, and I did consider this before, but certainly not to the extent that I should have, okay? When you have these plastic acrylic mirrors, let me turn this off. When you have these plastic acrylic mirrors, you have to know that they need to be mounted, okay? So because they're so malleable, and you could also get them in varying widths. So I think I got 2/4 inch or something. So the cost will go up if you get a thicker mirror, all right? It'll still be malleable, but less so. And because of that, it should give you a more evenly distributed image and weight. Regardless, the quality of the mirror is going to be extremely poor when it's all said and done. So keep in mind, I've only had one experience with this, so there may be others that have a wealth of knowledge that I certainly don't possess. And I'm only going by this literal one experience I've had. But again, if people are in a situation where they need to decide, I'm hoping this will be of some measure of help. So again, they're so malleable, and if you got the width that I did, it's so light that if you were, let's say you were to hang just the top edge of it, okay, along the wall, and then the rest was just sort of hanging, it doesn't have enough weight for it to actually sort of pull it taut. And because of that, there's these massive waves along the mirror. And so it's going to give you this horribly distorted, warped image, okay? So I thought, okay, I need to mount it. And even from there, there's still some discretion to be had. So you can choose, I chose a PDF board I got at Lowe's, and it added, I think, a total of extra $60 or so for 3 of them. Conveniently, they came in 4 foot by 8 foot as well. And that was just, I don't know, I suppose I lucked out in that sense. So I got 3 of those. Now that in and of itself, again, I think it's important to consider these little sort of details along the way, okay? Because if you, like myself, don't have a truck, a long bed in particular, you're now confronted with a situation where you have to rent a truck, or you're gonna have to be one of those people who says, hey, friend that I perhaps don't talk to all too often, can I use your truck? Even for a fee, I'd rather not be in that situation. I don't like relying on people. Anyway, so that's something to keep in mind, okay? The acrylic mirrors, this particular company, they delivered them to my house, all 3 of them, for a fee. I think it was about $80 or $90. So to me, it was worth it. The boards on which I mounted them, however, that was up to me to go and retrieve. So I ended up borrowing a friend's truck, family friend. Went and got the PDF board, and I believe it was an inch thick, or perhaps just thicker than an inch. So these things, and keep in mind, I'm not strong by any means, so you also may need someone to accompany you, or even if you're strong enough, just because of the sheer size, I imagine it may be difficult for many people to carry it, manage it all by themselves. From the moment you grab it within the store to getting it into the truck, getting it home, and then taking it out all by yourself. That may be difficult for some. I can't speak to everyone's situation. It was for me, and I certainly needed someone to accompany me for that. Got the 3 boards, get home, and I think, okay, I'm going to mount these. So the manufacturer or the company that I bought these acrylic mirrors from, they did have an instructional video to accompany, the purchase of the mirrors. So I watched it, and it tells you how to mount them, okay? And you have to get, I forget the brand name, but you have to get something called Mirror Mastic, and it comes in a tube just like caulking would. So you need to get, again, these are just little things you need to keep in mind if you decide to go that route, okay? So if you go this route, you're going to have to get the Mirror Mastic, and because this is the first time I had done it, of course I had no idea how many bottles of the Mirror Mastic I needed. So I think I bought 2, okay? From there, per the directions in this video, you then have to measure out area, a sort of a grid on this on the PDF board in my situation, mark it all out, and then you have to apply the mastic, right, very carefully along this sort of grid that you've just drawn. So again, that's another entirely new step to this whole process of just getting a mirror up on my wall. So I did that, and I believe it was 3 3¼ inches from each side off the edge of the wood, and then it was every 5 inches up and down from there, okay? So I get the grid all drawn on, great. Get the Mirror Mastic, I put it in the gun, the caulking gun, or I'm not sure how you refer to it, and I start applying it. Now this stuff is not, you have to apply quite a bit of force. It doesn't come out with ease, in my opinion. This is a small detail, but I want to include it. So I got about, I would say, 1/3 of this grid done, okay? And keep in mind, again, it's 4 foot by 8 foot, so there's a lot of squares, I'm having to draw over the outline. Get about 1/3 of the way done, and the first bottle of the mastic, it's gone, okay? Think, okay, I grab the second one, put it in, and then I endeavor to complete this sort of grid I've drawn out. I don't complete it. So with 2 bottles, I'm unable to complete one, piece of PDF board to apply this mirror to. That in and of itself is a little frustrating to me. Perhaps it won't be to you, but again, just letting you know what you can expect, or you may expect in this situation. So I can't even finish the application. So I'm thinking at this point, now I have to go back and order more Mirror Mastic, And now I'm confronted with a situation. If one were to hear this and say, hey, that's poor planning on your part, I would not contest that point. But again, this was the situation I was in. So I'm thinking, now I have to get I'm going to have to get many additional bottles of the mirror mastic. I can't recall how much it was per. I think the purchase was $20 or $40 for 2 bottles. So it's not super expensive. It is an added expense, and you're going to have to wait unless you go buy it somewhere in the store. I bought it offline. So now I'm confronted with a situation where I have to apply the mirror, right? Because I have freshly, laid out mirror mastic, and it's going to set. So I need to apply the mirror. However, I haven't put the mastic on the entirety of the PDF board. So now I'm going to have a section of about a quarter or a third of this mirror that I'm still able to pull up. Obviously isn't good. So I make the most of it. I lay the mirror down on it. And at this point is when this is the first instance where I can sort of get an idea of, okay, this is how the mirror is going to look when I hang this up. And again, these are about 5-inch spaces, these little squares. So there's not these massive gaps between each, someone outside driving by, between these lines of mastic, okay? So I apply it down, I'm pressing all over, I'm on my hands and knees, press, get up, and there's a very thin little plastic layer you pull off. It's very similar to what you'd have if you get a new TV or new computer monitor, right? And you pull that little thin layer of plastic off. So I'm doing that, and that sort of reveals the mirror. And you think, okay, wow, this mirror is really clear. And at that moment, I realize it looks awful. And I think, for goodness sake, this was a waste. So they're in my garage now. What I did at that point, I still had 2 mirrors, right? Because I bought 3 initially. Fortunately, I reached out to the manufacturer. I said, listen, this mirror looks awful. I'm really unhappy with the way it turned out. I didn't know, I really do wish they would have told me, hey, you're getting a mirror of this size, it's going to be really, really distorted, which is what it is presently in my garage. Is that a requirement, or should they be compelled to offer that information? I don't know. Perhaps. I wish they would have. Certainly would have saved me the time and money. So I returned 2 of the 3. I had to obviously eat the sunk cost of the one of the 3 because I had already applied it, and I wasn't going to try to secure a refund for that. I don't think it would have been fair of me. So again, at this point, I'm confronted with another situation where I need to borrow someone's truck. Okay? If you have one, this won't be an issue. I don't. Reach out to them, how to borrow the truck again, just to return the mirrors. Fortunately, they take back the 2 mirrors, they refund me, and then I'm stuck with this mirror still in my garage that's just sort of sitting there that looks like a funhouse mirror. Also, keep in mind, if you go with acrylic plastic mirror, once you apply it to the board, it's going to remove a lot of that benefit of it being a lighter mirror, okay? Because now it's going to be applied to, for me, a substantially heavier item in this inch-plus thick PDF board. So this is a big piece, you're going to be hanging on drywall. So that in and of itself is going to have to be something you also have to figure out, how you're going to hang that. Now in my garage, there's a little cement lip, right, about that, comes off about that high from the ground, okay? Were I to hang it, I would have simply sat it on there, so that would have taken majority of the weight, and of course it's not, the cement's not going to buckle underneath the weight of this mirror. And then I would have sort of fastened the remainder of it against the wall, and it should have been fine. But if you don't have that little sort of cement lip, I imagine it's going to present some additional difficulties for you. Something to keep in mind. So after that, I realized this was not a good decision. And again, this is the reason I'm making this video, is because I personally did not know of anyone who had been in a situation where they had to decide, which mirror should I get? I don't know anyone else with a gym in their garage. I'm sure there's tons and tons of people, but I'm a loner, okay? I really don't have any friends. I had no one to get this information from, so I just had to make a choice based upon the information I had, and then I had to sort of go from there. So after I got the refund for these other 2 mirrors, I went and then I started getting quotes for glass mirrors. Long story short, the glass mirrors, profoundly better, okay? Very happy with the quality of them. Zero distortion in the picture or the mirror aspect of it. Crystal clear. And I would say in the end it was actually cheaper than the 3 mirrors. So obviously that's up to you. You get multiple quotes and you can, try to negotiate price, do whatever you need to. But I got this done in the earlier part of the start of this COVID pandemic. So I imagine there was an incentive for these people to give perhaps more competitive prices in an effort to secure more work for themselves. So maybe it worked out that way for me. I'm not entirely sure. They didn't disclose that to me. So now I have 2 of the 3 mirrors that I wanted to have up. Now these glass mirrors, I believe, are 4x7, so about a foot shorter in height. But I'm very, very pleased with them. I purchased them, paid cash. They came, they brought them in, and they installed them for me. So all the mounting, the delivery, the going to get the wood, completely eliminated with these glass mirrors. All done for me. Obviously there was an expense, associated with it. Worth it for me. I imagine it will be for others. So I have the 2 mirrors, the 4x7 glass mirrors out in my garage presently. They look wonderful. Very happy with them. So I didn't get a third just because of the time. I had to eat the sunk cost of the 1 mirror, and I just didn't want to immediately reinvest that money that I had lost into a third glass mirror. So that's more or less the justification for this very gentle suggestion, okay? Obviously, feel free to look at the information online, decide for yourself. Perhaps a plastic acrylic mirror is decidedly better for you. I don't know what your individual circumstances are. For me, the glass was certainly the option for me, the way to go. And I believe that's it.